I did not, I will admit, but it's something I should have done because it really does help the material to stick in your mind.
Yeah, say that. I regret not looking over my notes when it was fresh in my mind.
Because you forget things.
Yeah.
2 months later, it'll have gone out of your mind and you will not remember doing it at all. That's from experience.
I try to do it every week, just so that when it comes time to study for the exam, that's already being done and all I have to do is learn the content. But it kind of got a bit out of hand for a while and I ended up being a couple of months behind.
If you're being realistic about it, I found I couldn't sort of keep up with constantly revising all the time. Although a lot of the unit of study coordinators tend to set assessments like topic tests to test you sort of a third of the way through semester and then 2/3 and then one at the end. And you're sort of then forced to revise some material.
What I did is I had my laptop and I'd have the slides downloaded onto it and I'd type during the lecture, then I'd get home and that evening or the day after or the weekend after, if I was really stressed and had lots of stuff going on, I would write it all out by hand.
I'll be honest, at first no, but then I found what was more effective for me is I preferred to look at stuff beforehand, so then I got more out of the lecture in the first place.
Well, I would get all of my lecture notes on that topic and put them all together, and then I would go through each lecture and summarise them, and then kind of get an overall idea of that, and then if I didn't get a part of that, I'd go to the textbook or ask someone to explain.
I think one thing I found was with revising, if it's closer to exams, I would waste, initially I'd waste a lot of time on just, summarising and rewriting things, but you just have to read it. I think you just have to read it and forget about summaries, because if it's close to exams, you have to read, do questions and repeat, because sometimes writing is the biggest time waster because you feel like you're doing something but you're actually not.
I mainly used my notes because I took the time to write lots of notes as I was going through, but I also found that the textbooks were really good as just sort of getting a second opinion on whatever you were doing.
I like to use YouTube to go over concepts.
Crash Course, use Crash Course.
Generally, I spent specific afternoons on some subjects. I would label it in my journal, my yearly journal. Today, revise biology, and then maybe the next day, today revise history, rather than doing it all in the one afternoon. You'll just confuse yourself and overwhelm yourself.
I've never been a fan of study timetables because things always come up at uni. You'll be like, oh, I'm gonna, study this Wednesday night, and then your friend's like, we're all going to this toga party, let's go, and you're like, but it's on my study timetable. You can never account for everything that people offer you in life, so it's just easier.
So you just need to be flexible.
Flexibility is always a good thing, and also you won't have to work on your 5 subjects equally unless you're same skill level in all of them. You'll find that, as with school, some subjects you need to spend more time in, and others because you have a better grasp on it, you don't need to spend as much time.
It also comes down to if you're going to continue it in your degree, you should probably spend a bit more time on the ones that are actually that you love and that you want to continue with, rather than maybe the ones that you need to just put in to fill space, or just your elective, which is more for fun.
Generally, back in the HSC, we had syllabus to guide us along, and then we'll make notes from the syllabus, and then you're set. But with uni, it's more open-ended.
The biggest difference between high school and university, which I struggled with, was the sheer amount of information that they threw at us right from the first week of uni. Yeah, there's a lot more content. And they don't spoon-feed you, they don't take you through it all. It's a lot more independent learning.
Yeah.
I miss syllabuses.
Yeah. I had no idea how to study first semester.
Yeah.
Because I was so used to just answering syllabus dot points.
Same here.
And then they're like, no, there's none.
And they really give you no idea of the depth of what you're meant to know to certain areas.
Yeah, most lecturers just say you'll be examined on what we say and what's on the slides.
Probably used to having your HSC subjects really structured around a sort of list of dot points, you may find that that's not really there in such a like a structured form for your university courses, and you generally tend to have to then more just rely on what's being covered in your lecture notes. But another thing is to consult your unit of study outline, which is a document which the unit study coordinator should publish for each unit, which sort of describes like the main objectives of the unit, and that might have a bit more of a structured form or an outline which tells you what kind of topics you have to cover.
I didn't do any science subjects in the HSE. I couldn't really apply my history and English and language study methods to learning science at uni, so I found I needed to write sort of really short weekly summaries and just compress all the information I really needed to learn.
Yes, definitely. In the HSC, I felt like every day was, just you had to study. It was like so much pressure.
Yeah.
Like it was constant studying, constant writing down notes and rewriting notes, and maybe answering essay questions. But university is a lot more flexible, and you tend to change your habits when it comes to studying.
I'd say that my HSC study method was really different from uni, just for the fact that a lot of subjects you do, for example biology, in the HSC you just write your really pretty colour-coded notes and you basically
With your judgment
just
statements.
memorize all the dot points. And then I find in uni everyone got anxiety because they were like, where's the syllabus? Where's the syllabus?
Yeah.
This professor, and they're like, there is no syllabus, and everyone was like freaking out. They have general learning outcomes, but as the professors often say, we can't just put a stop on biology. So, so you can't rote learn in uni if that's how you got through high
it's
school.
it's more about actually understanding why something does what it does and how it does work, not necessarily being able to write a pretty paragraph on it, just knowing how it works.
And you have to know really thoroughly, because the multiple choice questions at uni, you have to understand things really in detail to be able to eliminate them, because they'll sound really correct, but then there's like one minor detail, like this doesn't happen in the mitochondria, it happens in the membrane or something like that.
It brings new meaning to the term most correct response.
Yes, it definitely does.
My first one was terrible, and it was worth 50%. It was like a 2,000 word essay or something. It was not a fun one to start with. And you get used to it. I think the 2,000 word essays start to get normal.
There's a lot of all dumping the assignments in one short period of time though, so when you get one assignment you want to finish it off as quickly as possible, because you're going to get swamped under it very quickly. So don't give yourself the illusion, I have 6 to 8 weeks left. No, but halfway through that 6 to 8 weeks, you're going to have like 3 things with 3 weeks or 2 weeks, and they're all going to be due around the same time.
Yeah. Sometimes you'll have multiple due on 1 week.
Yeah.
It's the worst week.
I did as well. I think it's a constant struggle because there's always room for improvement.
Yeah.
But your writing, I think, will get better with practice.
I thought it was going to be a lot more straightforward than it was. As in, it's not super difficult, but because you don't really read a lot of scientific papers for fun, you have a different idea of what it should be. And I think the good thing there is really asking your lecturers or lab assistants or whatever. They really help a lot.
I think it was a little new, but it's pretty straightforward, and they gave us enough samples. We had lots of opportunities for feedback as well. We had peer feedback, we had feedback from our tutors. It was made pretty clear that we could also go and see different members of the staff for feedback if we really needed it. Yeah.
Well, you're going to have to write papers one day if you want to do anything research-wise.
In terms of we haven't really seen any demonstration of why it's so relevant, but I've understood now from having done research for my own reports that you're basically just looking at scientific papers everywhere. But other than that, it's just kind of a looming, scary thing in the future.
I think you get a better understanding of what you're studying if you have to write it up as well.
Yeah, I guess so. wasted less time on stressing out, and just learned to get down to work. Because
I think like focusing your attention equally, almost like
Yeah.
the bigger assessments you put more work into than like a 3%er. Like you just have to get your head around what you want to focus on more.
it's going to be strategic about how you get your marks.
Yeah, right at the beginning, like get the whole I don't know, timetable out.
I think I want to revise a little more regularly,
Yeah.
but not worry about so much about, like you said, rewriting something over and over.
And none of these P's get degrees shit. You can edit that out, but seriously, no.
I think I might need to be a little bit more strict with myself and not start studying the week before STUVAC, but actually sit down and revise my lecture notes every night if possible, or every Friday or something.
If I could go back and do it again, I would probably give myself shorter blocks of time with breaks in between, and a kind of a better goal of what I wanted to do. So I want to summarise the lectures from the last 2 weeks or something like that.
Oh, I would definitely start studying sooner.
Yeah.
I would try to keep up to date and write notes consistently throughout semester so that it doesn't pile up by the end of week 13. But it's hard to have that motivation.
Yeah.
I think with study, it just goes back to like choosing your subjects. I wish I did a greater diversity in first year and made use of the elective slots. Cause
If you do the advanced science degree, you can't take first year electives not in first year. So if you don't take a cool first year elective like Japanese or history or something, you can't do it in second year.
because everything is prerequisites and you're just not allowed
Because
to
a
do
lot
it.
of people are just like, oh, I'll try all the different sciences first year and then I'll do a proper
is
elective second
exactly
year,
what I did.
which is what I did. And it was good because I got to try like physics and I got to do MBLG and all that stuff. But then you can't try anything else now.
And also, as much as you may love it, it's sometimes nice to have a break because
Yes.
if you do like 3 subjects on top of maths with labs, you can have like a 4-hour, a 3-hour, and a 3-hour.
Yes.
So that's a lot of time, and it can be like very much like sometimes you'll go over like similar things, and you feel like a bit like, oh, I'm in a trench of micro pipetting everything.
I was in college for first year, and it was a small college, but there were always 2 or 3 of us that would study together. But I think mainly we didn't talk to each other while we were studying. We just made sure that we didn't get off track. We just sat with each other and studied, and occasionally explained things, which could be really useful. But I thought the best part of a study group as such was just someone else making sure that I was studying instead of going on Facebook or playing games on my phone.
I prefer studying on my own just because of the time commitment, and also I tend to get distracted in big groups. I think they're a good idea if you're someone who needs to be kept on track though.
For the bulk of the semester, I think I prefer to learn independently. That's just my personal learning style. But then when you get towards the end of semester, might be a few more assessments, and then you start to have exams. I think I probably did have a few times where I sat down with a group of maybe 3 or 4 other people, and you might have a time where you just sort of talk about the work or talk about an exam question you can sort of pass around and look at and discuss how you'd answer it. So in that week, like the STUVAC week between the last class, like the last lecture, and the beginning of your actual exam period, that's a good time to form those small study groups, I think.
Yeah, I have to agree. I was mainly focused on independent study, but a lot of my subjects had a sort of compulsory study groups where like you were put into a group assessment task, or you, for example, your lab partners.
Yeah.
You end up maybe adding them on Facebook or got them on your mobile, and you end up texting them anyway. Help me out with this, or do you know the answer to this, blah, 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 that sort of stuff.
But with the actual study, I would say when you get to STUVAC and you're like, oh, I really should have gone over this because I didn't get it at the
I should have
time.
watched those 10 lectures.
And then
I
like,
should have watched those things that I missed in that week 8 or whatever it was because I was sick or whatever.
because when you only have like a week to go, like you find it harder to take in new information than if you had like a general idea in the first place.
Be kind to your StuVac self. You're going to be 10 times, like, however stressed you feel during semester, you're going to be at least twice as stressed during StuVac. So be nice to your StuVac
Be kind to StuVac self. Your StuVac self will need lots of chocolate. So you should probably go grocery shopping before StuVac. And you should also revise and be very loving and tender to that self.
Yeah, and also for StuVac, try and not just do study things the whole time. Try and get yourself out of the house or out of your college a little